So listen, my name is Warner. Special shout out to C3. This is for C3, but whoever's watching this, I appreciate you. My name is Warner. For the last, I guess, a couple weeks at this point, there's been a lot going on. And I know for some of us, um, the effects of not being around people have been kind of jarring, man. Well, I'll be honest. As a introvert and slight socially awkward person, solitude hasn't been that bad. I'm just gonna be honest with you. But I know for many of us it's been tough, been challenging, especially those of us who come together on Sundays to fellowship, to be inside of a church building and worship together and be taught together. The social distancing has been an inconvenience. But thankfully, because of technology, we have these things that allow us to, link up and chop it up and take advantage of those things like, Zoom and the house party app and all those things, WhatsApp, take advantage of those things. But anyway, to get to it, I've had some things on my mind and just wanted to share some and, hopefully be blessed by it. You'll be maybe somewhat entertained, maybe, but hopefully, you'll be edified and encouraged during this season. So Sunday night, I was watching the show called The Walking Dead, right? It's a show that comes on AMC, and I was watching that, and a few, weeks, maybe even a month and a half ago, maybe even more, I was watching Zombieland Part 2, Double Tap, that's what it's called. And look, I know, let me just say, I know that given our world's current predicament, starting this joint off with a zombie apocalypse TV show or movie reference may not be the most reassuring way to begin a talk. I get it. But just rock with me for a minute, all right? Just bear with me. So, one of the dope things about the show The Walking Dead, one of the things that about it that makes the show so popular and lasting, for me, in my opinion, is that although the show predominantly and prominently features zombies or walkers, as they're called on the show's focus is actually more about the relationships of the people and the life that's being lived despite what's going on around them. Despite it's more about that than the actual zombies, believe it or not. It's actually a lot about hope and moving forward. Moving forward in this environment, surviving, adapting to this new zombie world. Along with the reality of a world that's overrun with zombies and walkers or what have you. People are still laughing and loving and fighting and playing and eating. Even amongst all these zombies, people are still making plans and making art and sleeping and making babies and killing the occasional zombie every now and then. Although they're in this apocalyptic, post-apocalyptic, dystopian, end of the world type scenario, y'all, the world is still spinning and life is still happening. The other movie that I was talking about, the movie Zombieland or Zombieland Part 2, which is one that I saw, we see these characters, right? Now, let me just say this. I know these are movies or TV shows, and you're like, Warner, that's fake. This is real life. Yes. But just like with any good art, there's always some little nuggets of wisdom or insight within it that you can, apply to, real life, especially given the current times. So again, Zombieland, right? So in Zombieland, there's this character called Columbus, right? And he has at least 32 rules for surviving the zombie apocalypse, which he references quite a bit. Now, I know that the Center for Disease Control, the CDC, and the World Health Organization, WHO, also has given us guidelines to assist in stopping or at least slowing down the spread of the coronavirus. One of them are, wash your hands for 20 seconds at least frequently, which is why my hands are dumb ashy right now. But they clean. So yeah, washing your hands, staying at least 6 feet away from folks if you can help it, refraining from touching your face, especially if you haven't washed your hands, especially like your nose, your eyes, mouth, social distancing, AKA stay at home. Please, y'all, please, if you don't need to be out, stay at home. I'll maybe touch on that later, but those guidelines are primarily for protecting you and everyone else against the coronavirus. So, all that being said, kind of riffing off what Pastor Bernard spoke about on this past Sunday, I came up with 3 guidelines and principles to keep in mind and to put into practice for the purpose of navigating and moving successfully during this unprecedented, never before seen time. I'm sure there could be more, but these 3 stood out the most to me, and hopefully they will encourage and inform and help you. So I'll give you the 3 first, and then I'll break them down. If you just want to hear the 3 and don't hear me talk, that's fine. But I'd encourage you to stick around. But I'll give you the 3 just in case you don't want to. You don't have the time. So the 3 are ready. Number 1, be still. Be still and know God. Be still and know God. Get to know God. That's number 1. Number 2, wait on the Lord. Wait on the Lord. So be still, wait on the Lord. And number 3, enjoy the time. Enjoy the time. So yeah, all right, so let's chop it up. So be still and know that I'm God. So that is, for those who didn't know, that is a verse from the Bible, specifically from Psalm, the book of Psalm. And it's chapter 46, verse 10, and I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it in 3 different translations. This is the first one. It says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations. I will be exalted in the earth." This next one is from the Amplified version. It says, "Be still and know," meaning recognize and understand that I am God. And this last one, I dig a lot. It says, it's from the Passion Translation. It says, "Surrender your anxiety, be silent, and stop your striving, and you will see that I am God." I love that. See, in response and reaction to everything that's been happening as of late in the world, there's been this, knee-jerk reaction shared by a lot of people in the world. A reaction to freak out, and to panic and to be, riddled down and with fear and anxiety and worry. I mean, maybe that's been your story, or maybe that's been the story of your parents or people that you know or something like that. Now, again, that's not to say that there aren't truly justified things to be concerned with out there, for sure. Or that's not to say that there aren't things that there are things that we should be doing to protect ourselves and our neighbors. But y'all, to respond and to be overcome with panic and to be influenced and led by fear, y'all, is not the move. That's not where you want to be. And sidebar. Let me just say this. What makes it worse, even worse, is when this fear, right, is spread not through facts, but through lacking of knowledge, through misinformation, myths, and hysteria. Listen, y'all, look, please hear me when I say this. Don't post or repost stuff, especially about the coronavirus, that hasn't been checked out and verified by a credible source. Y'all check your sources, please. Y'all, like, I've been hearing, people be reposting stuff from like the onionnews.com or, Big Bertha.com news says to, if you gargle with cyanide and Clorox, it'll cure, corona or something stupid like that. Look, wrong information being reposted out on the interwebs or by word of mouth spread a lot of unnecessary, unhelpful panic and fear. It's like, we got the coronavirus and we have another virus, fear, and it spreads far quicker, believe it or not, than corona, it infects folks. So, but I digress. Be still and know that I am God. Did you know, I don't know if you knew this, and I didn't know it until I looked it up, the command to be still happens about 5 to 8 times in the Bible, depending on what Bible translation you have. And in the translations that don't translate to be still, it translates to phrases like be patient, or trust, or wait, or rest in the Lord. I'm gonna come back to that rest in the Lord one. Now, most of those be stills happen in the Old Testament, but the one reference in the New Testament comes, of course, from Jesus. It is that part where he's in the boat and he's sleeping and he has his disciples with him, and the sea begins to rage and begins to just be tumultuous, and Peter, the strong disciple, comes and like, yo, Jesus, come on, man, don't you care about us? All this stuff is happening, we're about to perish, don't you care? And Jesus gets up, just as chill as a cucumber, man, gets up and he speaks to the sea and he says, peace, be still. Peace, be still. Right. But let's go back to that resting in the Lord. Now, how many of you have heard of the word Sabbath? Sabbath, right? Nobody? Well, I don't know if you knew this, but Sabbath literally means to rest from labor, right? It's Hebrew. It means the day of rest. It means taking time out to rest and spend time with and focused on God. Similar to the Old Testament, the purpose of a Sabbath rest is to, for lack of a better word, force us to pause and stop. Force us to stop, reconsider, recalibrate. What Numbers says, the book of Numbers says, the lusts of our own hearts and eyes. Because those things have, the lust meaning the things that we desire that maybe we shouldn't or shouldn't desire as much. Those things have a real danger in becoming idols. And an idol basically is, what an idol means is anything that grows in importance or value over God, right? So that could be our jobs, our work, our free time becomes an idol, people, places, those all, whatever you place above God as more important or more valuable becomes an idol. So with the Sabbath, God ultimately wants to bring you and me closer to himself. And I bet you, I wager that during this time we find ourselves in right now with the corona, which can sort of, if you choose to look at it that way, sort of be viewed as a forced Sabbath. God desires to bring you and I closer to him. Now, I can hear some of you saying, well, dang, Warner, did he have to stop everything? I'm saying though, be honest. If things hadn't stopped, would you have? So. All right, what am I saying? Glad you asked. I'm saying that being still during this time doesn't mean being unaware or uninformed as to what's happening around you. Look, what do you think when Jesus was in the boat, albeit sleeping, with the raging sea, do you think he didn't know what was happening around him? 100% he did. 100%. He got up and calmed the sea because he wanted Peter and them to see that they only needed to trust. They only needed to rest in him, to be still and know that the God who loves them and you and never slacks a minute has got them. And as he had them, he has you. He wanted them and he wants us to rest in him, to be still and know that he is God. He's got you, bro. He's got you, sis. Trust. And check this out. Look, faith is trust, right? Faith is trust. Faith is the opposite of fear and panic, right? But naturally, it's hard to trust something that you don't know. It's hard to trust something or someone that you don't know, right? That's just in the basic sense of it. Look, for those of y'all that know me and that know me well enough to trust me, you didn't trust me when you first met me because you didn't know me, right? You didn't know me. Your friends, your family, whoever you trust, that trust didn't come automatic. You know what I'm saying? As you got to know them, you started to trust them. It's the same thing with God. It's the same thing. Again, use this time to be still and know or get to know God. Like, get to know him. Like Pastor Bernard was saying on Sunday, we get to know God through his character, and that character is displayed perfectly in Jesus Christ. Let me read, this is Colossians chapter 1, verse 15. It says this: He, Jesus, is the exact living image of the unseen God, meaning the visible representation of the invisible. Jesus is the exact living image of the unseen God. Listen, you want to know God? Know Jesus. I encourage you, look, make the most of this extraordinary, some wouldn't say this, but extraordinary privilege, and spend time alone with God. Learn to delight in his presence, man, because he wants that. He delights in you. When times are especially confusing and uncertain, possibly unlike anything you or I have ever experienced, knowing and ultimately trusting or relying on the character of God that's found in Jesus Christ is paramount. It is most important. All right, so that's be still and know God. That's number one. Number two, waiting on the Lord. Now, all throughout the Bible, there are commands to wait on the Lord. From Genesis, there's a whole bunch in Psalms where it says, wait on the Lord, wait on the Lord, wait on the Lord. And all through the New Testament. But what is that? What is waiting on the Lord? Waiting on the Lord can sound a bit abstract. It can sound a bit, kind of just ethereal. Like you can't touch it, and it sounds that way even for folks who've been Jesus followers for years. So like, what does waiting on the Lord look like? Like, what does it mean? What does it look like? So I like Galatians chapter 5. You have it, you can go there. In Galatians chapter 5, Paul is rattling off what the fruit of the Spirit are. Basically, the fruit of the Spirit, these are the qualities that help identify or define what a Christian, a Jesus follower is. So he says, you can tell them by these qualities. And sidebar, if you can't see them qualities, then maybe this might need to check if they really following who they say they following. But I digress. This is Galatians chapter 5, verse 22. It says this. It says, but the fruit of the Spirit, meaning the result of his presence within us, is love, meaning unselfish concern for others, joy, inner peace, patience. Check this out. Patience, not the ability to wait, but how we act while we're waiting. That was Galatians 5, verse 22, and that was the Amplified version I was reading. So again, patience, not the ability to wait, but how we act while we're waiting. So similarly, waiting is not simply standing still. Although, literally speaking, it can be. But yeah, but waiting is not simply standing still, although it can be. But with regard to God, waiting on the Lord has more to do with what we're doing while we're waiting or being still. A friend of mine once told me, I was in a season where I was waiting for something, and I probably wasn't waiting as patiently as I should have been. And she said, Warner, when you go to a restaurant, what do the waiters do? And I said, I don't know, what do they do? And she said, Warner, when you go to a restaurant, you know what the waiters do? The waiters serve. And I was like, oh, I get what you're saying. Waiting, waiters, because waiters, they serving, and I should serve. So I got it. It was, it took me a minute, but I got it. It was a pretty, pretty clever illustration. But there's a lot of truth in that. Waiting on the Lord can absolutely be expressed by serving others while you're expectantly waiting for his deliverance, his blessing, whatever. Waiting on the Lord, especially during this time. What it doesn't mean is, it doesn't mean sitting on your hands and being all aggy, complaining and whining, worrying yourself into an anxiety fueled panic. It means serving your household by, cleaning up, clean up your room, tidying up a bit. It means, cooking a meal for your fam, for your household, if you can cook. If you can cook, because otherwise it may not be that big of a blessing for them. So yes, if you can cook, cooking for them. It means, instead of being all aggy and annoying to your parents or your guardians or your siblings or your neighbors or what have you, man, be cool, be calm, be loving, be generous, be gracious. Waiting on the Lord can also include, serving your family and your neighbor by not endangering yourself or others by placing yourself in harm's way, aka refusing to practice social distancing. Serving your neighbors can mean participating in social distancing. Listen, I can't stress this enough. Social distancing is not just about you. It's not just about you, but it's about serving your community by not infecting others. So wait on the Lord, aka serve. So 1, be still, know that I'm God. 2, wait on the Lord. And this last one, be still, know that he's God, know that God is God via Jesus. Wait on the Lord by being of service to your fam, to your friends, neighbors. And this last one is enjoy the time. Enjoy the time. The other day, I think this was Saturday, I saw this single, in my backyard, I saw this single solitary yellow flower growing in my backyard amongst in the lawn. It wasn't a weed. It wasn't like a dandelion or anything like that. It looked like a tulip, and I didn't plant it. But it was there and it was beautiful, and it was, the petals were out, and in looking at it, I was reminded of 3 things, or, I was made hip to 3 things. 1, that day was the first day of spring. And that fact, I gotta be honest with you, would have totally flew right past me, because like everybody else, I've been just kind of bombarded with all, corona, that I'm not thinking about anything else, or not much of anything else. So yes, it reminded me that was the first day of spring. And spring, signifies new life, Number 2, life is still happening, and there is still a globe spinning and a world existing outside in despite of the Rona. You know, if Rona has taken up all of your mental space, I would challenge you, man. Yo, man, think of other things. You know, and that actually leads you to the third thing. You know, seeing that flower reminded me to take time out and stop and enjoy this world and the beauty that's in this world. Listen, man, I live in Brooklyn. I'm in Brooklyn right now, and in New York. Yeah, man, you know, Brooklyn, you know, New York, you know, is a city, so it can be, you know, ain't the cleanest spot on the planet. You know, I can see that. You know, there's not, you know, people sometimes have attitudes, you know, and things like that. But there's also so much beauty here, man. And I mean that. I know I'm a little biased being a Brooklynite, but yo, man, I'm looking out my window now. I'm seeing like the trees blooming, like the leaves are blooming, and you know the sky is like blue, like clear blue. You know, and even aside from that, man, you know what makes this world beautiful? Because you're in it. And I mean it. I'm not trying to be, you know, Mr. Affirmation guy, but like it's the truth, man. You know, you're in this world, and you're beautiful, and you're beautiful because God made you. God made me. You know, there's a lot of beauty in this world that we miss because we don't take time to enjoy it. And especially now, we got to be intentional about it. You know, there's a lot of other voices and noise coming from everywhere, whether it's news, and no disrespect to news, because news is doing, you know, like we should be aware of what's happening, you know, or parents or friends and stuff like that. But, you know, some of it is just bent on being negative. Like you can be realistic and being honest without being negative. So there are voices telling us to be fearful. But then on the other end, there are also voices telling us not to take this virus as serious as we should. And what was Pastor say? You know, whatever's taken to the extreme is error. I believe that God has gifted us a stop. This season as a stop, this disruption to our regularly scheduled programming. And the reason, at least partly being, I believe, is to take in our environment, you know, and the beauty in it, you know, to take in our loved ones, you know, and ultimately to take in Him. Look, if you never take time, you'll never have time. If you never take time, you never have time. I'll end with this. I was watching Ferris Bueller about a couple weeks ago. 80s movie. I absolutely endorse it. You know, go check it out. You ain't got nothing else to do. But at the end of the movie, Ferris Bueller says this. He says, you know, life comes at you pretty fast. If you don't stop to take time out to look at it, you'll miss it. Or something like that. He says, you know, life comes at you pretty fast. If you don't stop to look around and check it out, you might miss it. And that's the truth. Let me pray real quick. Thank you all for listening, by the way, and for watching. Father, thank you, Lord, for this time, Lord. Thank you, Father, for your goodness and for being good and for your grace and mercy. For not withholding good, but also for not allowing us to receive all the bad, you know, for it not being as bad as it could be. Lord, I thank you for your mercy, Lord. Thank you for this time where we can just slow down and stop and take a look around and smell the flowers, as it were, you know. Thank you for each and every person watching and for each and every family represented, Lord. I'm asking you, Lord, to protect and preserve us, Father, to keep us, Lord. And even during this time of uncertainty and fear and anxious thoughts and all those things, Father. Lord, get the glory in all of it, Father. Help us to see you clearer during this time. Help us to see each other clearer, Lord. Help us to see ourselves clearer, Lord, so that as we're going through this and when we come to the other side of this, and I know we will come to the other side of this, that we will be better, that we'll be purified, that we would have dope faith, but not just a faith in something or someone that we don't know, but faith in you, in whom we do know. Thank you for your Son, for Jesus Christ, for reconciling us back to you, Lord. And I ask you, Father, whoever doesn't know you through your Son, Father, that they would. We thank you, and we love you, and I love you, and I appreciate you. And Father, whatever I may have said that is not you, Lord, I ask you, Lord, that they hear not me but you and get your wisdom, not mine. I thank you for this, Father, in Jesus' name.